If episode 1 was about learning to live life like there's no tomorrow, then episode 2 is definitely about dealing with the consequences of those extreme actions when tomorrow eventually comes around. Episode 1 ended with the illusion that everything was handled and sorted out as Walter proceeded to deliver those heavenly back shots to his pregnant wife. But episode 2 opens with a flashback to 12 hours ago, and apparently they just decided to park the van in Pinkman's house, deal with the dead body the next day, and part ways forever once everything had been settled. Unfortunately for them, Crazy 8 survived the chemical attack and tried to escape. He's currently locked up in Pinkman's basement, so now Walter and Pinkman both need to make difficult decisions for the sake of their mutual self-preservation. They have a dead body to dispose of and a sick nigga to eliminate. They decide to divide and conquer, which is dumb because things will go a lot smoother if they both work together to dispose of the dead body and eliminate Crazy 8, one task at a time, rather than splitting up their efforts and brain power in an attempt to complete both tasks simultaneously. This teamwork could have led to a more efficient outcome on both ends and would have helped to build and strengthen the mutual bond between them as brand new business partners, regardless of whether or not they were going to split up after they were done. But instead, they decide to divide and conquer, so Pinkman has to dissolve the body in acid and Walter has to kill Crazy 8. Meanwhile, back at home, Skylar is now suspicious of Walter, another consequence of his carefree decision making. Apparently, just quietly taking that good pipe like a good little girl wasn't an option for her, so she's still upset about Walter refusing to communicate with her. During breakfast, Pinkman calls their family phone and Walter acts like he's some annoying salesman, even though he's being very weird and Pinkman sounds nothing like a salesman. Skylar isn't buying any of this, so she starts giving Walter the silent treatment and ends up tracking Pinkman's phone number online just to recover his website. This is where she learns his full name and finds out where he went to school. Pinkman goes out to buy the plastic container required to dissolve Emilio's body, but he's having trouble picking the right one. He eventually goes home empty-handed because none of them were big enough to fit a human body. Meanwhile, Walter struggles to find a weapon to use and kill Crazy 8. When he eventually finds one, he hesitates because Crazy 8 starts begging. He ends up running away due to him being unable to bring himself to do the deed. Crazy 8 then requests for some water because he has fucking poisonous gas in his lungs. So Walter takes 2 gallons of water, makes a sandwich, grabs a bucket with some toilet paper and slides it to the guy he's supposed to be fucking executing, like he's getting room service in some fucking 2-star hotel. Walter, my man, come on bro, what are we doing here? I was hyping your ass up in the last episode, my nigga. Now you out here doing this fucking pussy shit? Are you trying to make me look dumb for my motherfucking subscribers, nigga? What the fuck, man? I told these niggas you were cool, bro. What are you doing? Fuck. And by the way, just so we're clear, I still stand by everything I said in the episode 1 analysis. We should all definitely be living our life like there's no tomorrow. It's just that we also need to account for the equal and opposite reaction that comes as a result of whatever action we choose to take. Walter failed to account for all the possible scenarios that could arise as a result of him deciding to sell drugs. So now he's overwhelmed and painfully unprepared to do what needs to be done. Like Magneto said in that new David Fincher movie, anticipate, don't improvise. Walter failed to anticipate, so now he's forced to improvise. Pinkman comes back empty-handed to meet Walter smoking weed and Crazy 8 still coughing in his basement. The day is over and Walter has a doctor's appointment to get to, so they ended up solving not even one of their 2 major problems. This is what I mean when I say they would have been better off tackling both problems as a unified team and not aimlessly dividing their efforts. If they had worked together from the start, Walter would have made the decision to buy 2 plastic containers, one for his extremities and one for his torso. Then once they finished up with Emilio, Pinkman, being the more experienced one between both of them, would have just shot Crazy 8 in the back of the head. They would have dissolved his body together and that would have been the end of that. After the ultrasound appointment, Skylar confronts him about all the ways he has been acting weird and directly asks him who Jesse Pinkman is, which is great because the best way to deal with a suspected breach of trust in a relationship is to openly communicate with your partner about it. And now I don't have to keep calling him Pinkman anymore. But because Skylar is still Skylar, she had to go ahead and ruin her good deed by immediately judging Walter when he tells her that he has been buying weed from Jesse. You see, any good wife would have probably asked her husband what's been stressing him out so much that he needs to resort to smoking weed, would have had that adult conversation with him and successfully gotten to the root of the problem. But instead, she starts scolding him and making him feel dumb for opening up to her. So he literally tells her to get off his ass and stop stressing him out. He just told you that he's been buying weed to calm his nerves and your immediate response is to start aggravating him even more? Yeah, I wonder why he doesn't fucking tell you anything. Obviously it's a lie, but if it was the truth, this is the kind of response that will make your partner close up and actively start refusing to tell you things about themselves. That's how people end up forming emotional bonds with individuals outside of their relationship. Then before you know it, your husband is in his staff room getting heard from one of his co-workers that actually expressed enough interest in him to ask him why he's been smoking so much weed lately. Now, to be clear, Walter is definitely in the wrong for lying to his wife about cooking crystal meth, but with the way she reacted to him just smoking weed, being so judgmental and inconsiderate towards him, how do you expect him to feel comfortable enough to tell her the actual truth? So I think that's going to be part of the lesson we take away from today's episode. Number 1, anticipate all possible scenarios, that way you will never need to improvise. And number 2, never judge your partner when they open up to you because all you'll be doing is pushing them away into the hands of someone else that actually listen and empathize with them. Later on, she finds her way to Jesse's house and threatens him with the police if he doesn't stop selling weed to her husband, informing him that her brother-in-law is in the DEA, which is just most definitely and undeniably the smartest thing she could have done in that particular particular situation. Of all the possible choices she had, she picked the one that involved her going to the home of a dangerous drug dealer to threaten him with law enforcement while putting not only her life but the life of her unborn daughter at risk, as opposed to, I don't know, fucking having a civil conversation with your husband about why he's been smoking weed. And do I even need to point out why that's a completely boneheaded strategy to begin with? If for some reason Jesse decides to stop selling weed to your husband, that nigga will just go and find another drug dealer, because obviously Jesse isn't the only white boy selling weed in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and you haven't even tackled the root of the problem. So Walter definitely has no incentive to stop smoking weed in the first place. Do you not understand how life works, young lady? If anything, now he'll keep doing it just to spite you for judging him so much about it. And I hope you know that bad things are a whole lot more pleasurable when you're not supposed to be doing them, right? So this oppression tactic you're using is only going to backfire in your face, young lady. If this is how she's going to be throughout the course of the show, then I can definitely see why people dislike this character so much. She seems like the type to find out her daughter has been sucking the neighbor's dick on the weekends, then go over there to threaten with law enforcement without realizing that her daughter could just start sucking some other guy's dick in class during the weekdays. This woman really needs to get off her moral high horse and start communicating with the people around her. I really can't believe that I have to sit here and tell a 40-year-old woman that communication is the key. Anyway, Jesse ends up trying to dissolve Emilio in his bathtub, so the episode ends with his guts melting through the floor and making an even bigger mess all over his house. No big deal, just another thing for them to deal with in the next episode. And also, some kids found that gas mask that Walter threw away in episode 1. Subscribe to Patreon for Weird Thoughts, my member-controlled Patreon-only podcast, and Weird Commentary, my Patreon-exclusive cartoon commentary videos. You can decide to get the commentary episodes once a month, twice a month, or 4 times a month. And you can decide to be just a regular podcast listener, or you can have supreme control over what I say in podcast by sending me questions and topics and comments every single week for the podcast episodes. So it's all up to you, it's your choice, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Subscribe to the Patreon, link in the description. Do not be like Skylar. And yeah, I'll see y'all niggas in the next analysis. Well, this was fun. Whew. Alright, later niggas.